Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donohue and Sonia Mansfield, talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donohue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. We have a baseball-themed episode today.
Yay!
Sonia is a huge baseball fan. We are doing this because on my other show, Book versus Movie, we covered The Natural, and spoiler, we hated it. And
You hated the book and the movie?
the book is actually pretty good, but it's very different. But the movie is... They have Robert Redford playing a 19-year-old. He was 47. Like a 19-year-old with like liver spots on him. Like I just couldn't even. Anyway. So we are the podcast that talks about creeps from the past to the present. We have an old-timey baseball creepy tale for you today. But we're always looking for suggestions from y'all. So places to do it on social media. We have a basic Facebook page, but that's a place where people go to complain about our language. This is your warning. We will use salty language in this program. So earmuffs for the kids or, something else.
Yeah, shit, fuck, damn.
We have a private Facebook group where you and I are the most interactive. You have to answer a couple of questions to come on in. And we just talk about creeps in the news. We talk about pop culture. Every once in a while, we show pictures of our pets. That's like one of my favorite things that we do.
I love that.
It's a nice group to hang out in. On social media, Twitter, it's Creep Pod because somebody had What a Creep for 10 years and never used it.
Creep.
But on Threads and Blue Sky and Instagram, it's What a Creep Podcast. And we have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And if you would like some stickers, send us your address via email, and we will drop them in the mail for you. They post here, right? And I will do it, y'all. Like, just dare me.
She will. She will.
I will walk right by that post office and drop it right in there.
She does. She is on it, y'all.
I'm super on it. All right, Sonia, do you want to talk about the website real quick?
Yeah, you can go to whatacreeppodcast.com and it's everything you wanted to know about the podcast, but we're afraid to ask. We have links to all of our past episodes, and you can click the little title there, and it opens up to a whole blog post with all of our sources because we source everything we do. We want to give credit to the journalists that did the hard work. So if you want to do a deeper dive on any of our creeps, that's a fabulous place to start. You can also go to our merch shop where we sell tote bags and t-shirts and notebooks and face masks and all the things with our logos. And somebody asked recently if we could get a Ragey Sonia or Ragey Margot with like a word shirt. So I will try to get on that one for y'all. I've got some time this weekend. There's a link to our Substack if you want to sign up for that, where I put out a monthly newsletter. And yeah, I know I forgot April, but I'll do May. You'll see. And then we have a link to our Patreon. You want to tell them about that, Margot?
Yes, Patreon. It's another way you can help support the show. We have our first 8 seasons up on that board. Yep, we're completing season 24 right now, though, by the way, Sonia. It's episode 10, season 24.
That's right. We've been here 24 years.
It feels like it sometimes, doesn't it? We put out 2 bonus episodes a month, plus you have the access to those first 8 seasons all for you. If money's tight, though, we totally get that. We totally understand. If you could just leave us a review wherever you get your podcast, a positive one would be amazing. But, Sonia, we have a couple of 5-star reviews. Why don't you read yours right now?
Yeah, I have one on Apple, and it is from I'm Feeling Sublime. She gave us 5 stars, said it was an excellent podcast. She loves the idea. I said she. It could be they.
Yeah, I was just going to say they.
They seem to really love the show. They gave us 5 stars. Someone named Becky, maybe we mentioned Becky last week, also gave us 5 stars and said, love.
Oh, I have an international list here. So this is Bernard from Ireland. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Ooh.
Love these ladies calling out creeps I knew about and opening my eyes to new ones. Keep it up, sugar tits. I actually have a shirt that says sugar tits on it, and I wear it to sleep sometimes. So
yeah,
that cracked my ass up. Or,
Good
but,
job.
Spotify, all those places. If you could just do that,
Yes.
That'd be amazing. And as we were saying, we always end the show with someone who's not a creep. This is a baseball themed one. So we have a baseball history kind of creep thing going on, and then somebody who's not a creep. Are you ready to play ball? Is that how it goes?
I've got my peanuts and cracker jacks.
Do they do that in Chicago?
Do what?
They take me out to the ball game? Is that?
Oh, all of them. All the ball games. You
Oh.
sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game at the 7th inning stretch. And
Oh.
everybody stands to stretch. And you sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And then when it's like, and we root for and you scream your team's name. So it's like Giants. And if they don't win, it's a shame. So it's we've
We've
as
lost
far
so
as
many
I
people
know,
who normally reach.
yeah, they're like, peace out, nerd. I haven't been to like every ballpark, but the games I've been to, that is a thing in the 7th inning. Yes.
Because our creep today, what took place, his event took place in Chicago. So we've got three
Okay.
big baseball cities, Philly, Boston, and Chicago, basically. Oh, and LA, by the way. So do you know who Eddie Waitkus is?
I don't.
All right. Well, he was a ball player in the 40s. And let me just start here. The Eddie Waitkus shooting is a notable event in baseball history. It occurred in 1949 when the popular first baseman and World War II hero, and that's what they did, by the way, as soon as the war started, he worked at the time he was with the Philadelphia Phillies, and he was shot by an obsessed fan named Ruth Steinhagen. I keep saying Steinberg, and then things don't turn out right. So it's Ruth Steinhagen. Yeah. The incident was a shocking reminder of the dangers of celebrity obsession. Also, it inspired Bernard Malamud's novel, The Natural. Eddie Waitkus was known as The Natural, which was later adapted into a popular film starring Robert Redford, who played a 19-year-old when he was 47 at the time. I have to kind of hammer that home, how ridiculous it is.
We understand. Some people think The Natural is the best baseball movie ever made.
And they're wrong.
I am not one of those people. But again, taste varies. Your mileage may vary.
Your mileage may vary. That's the way to put it. Our trigger warnings for this episode: gun violence, stalking, alcoholism, and mental health treatments. My sources:
baseball puns.
And wicked baseball puns, y'all. NPR, Wikipedia, of course, the Chicago History Museum, History and Relics. It's a YouTube channel, Chicago PBS, and also a book that I really enjoyed called Baseball's The Natural, the story of Eddie Waitkus by John Theodore. We always start at the beginning. Edward Stephen Waitkus was born September 4th, 1919. He is from Massachusetts, Cambridge, Massachusetts. He grew up in a Lithuanian family. His parents were immigrants, very hardworking. He could speak 4 languages. He was extremely intelligent, and he played, you hear about these athletes. They lettered in all the sports. That was Eddie. He was great at everything. Mm-hmm. When he has a sister. When he was 16, his mother passed away, and the family had always thought he would go to Harvard. His grades were so good, and his parents were both working, but with the mother gone, he needed to help out his dad and his sister. So when he was 17, he graduated high school, and he just started working in the semi-pro circuit. Started in a place called Warumbo Woolen Mill. I'm sorry if I got that wrong, in Lisbon Falls, Maine. And as a rookie, he was known as the Natural because he was tall and he had an incredible reach. Like he could swing really well. His average was 300. He could swing really well, but also he had very long limbs and he could reach really well. So he could play offense and defense. He could catch any ball. And he usually liked to play first base.
Okay.
And he's very cute. He could have gotten to first base with me. Hey-o!
Hey-o!
His
slide into home.
Hey-o! Some notes here. So he was working in Maine, and then he gets picked up by the Angels in Los Angeles, and it's their minor league team. He's so handsome. He starts dating movie stars, like, as soon as he's out there.
Yeah. So nothing's changed.
Nothing's
This is
changed.
Still a thing.
It's still a thing. But he's like Sonia Haney and
Yeah.
And then he gets picked up and he's with the Chicago Cubs. Immediately is like, he's rookie of the year. They immediately put him on first base because he's so good at what he does. And also, the guy is a total charmer. He treated everybody equally. He had a lot of self-confidence, but he also treated people with decency. He was great with women, and he could dance, and he was very funny. And he always seemed
Hot.
to have, it's so fucking hot. Competency is so fucking hot, y'all. Just somebody who just knows what they're doing and just, that kind of thing. So
Yeah, I'm gonna look him up.
look
right
him up.
now.
He's a cutie. While he's in the baseball, World War II breaks out.
the baseball.
He signs up, like I said, like everybody that was old enough and active enough, because we needed a large army right away. And so a lot of baseball players did that. And that's why they had the ladies league going for a while. He
Yes.
is sent overseas and he is in the Philippines and he's in the Navy, experiences kamikaze planes trying to come and get him. He was temporarily kidnapped by the Japanese. He had a friend that was taken for 2 months. He survived landing on beaches and landing and seeing bodies everywhere, like at the beginning of, what's the movie I'm thinking of? Saving Private Ryan. He one time was in a foxhole with a friend and another friend was shot and his leg had a gash in it. And he's laying out there and it's at night and it's super dark. Ed immediately jumps out of the foxhole, goes and gets the guy. He can't figure out how to close up the gash, so he just takes the safety pins off his suit, his uniform, and stitched it up and brought him into the foxhole.
Damn, what a hero!
He's such a hero. He's also, and he saved the guy's life. And he's the kind of person that he doesn't get freaked out with danger. He has so much confidence, and he's just calm, and he just does his shit. Now, this is the thing. It's got to go somewhere. He's in a profession and he's being in the army. Everything's always heightened and he probably thrives under that. And then when you're playing baseball, it's intense. The whole time you're out there, you have to perform.
Yeah.
There's how many games a season? I mean, and they play doubleheaders and stuff like that.
161 games a season.
That's a lot. It's a lot. It is. So he comes home and he immediately joins again. He's back into the Phillies and he does really well. I'm sorry, back with the Chicago Cubs. When he comes back, there's the day that Babe Ruth in 1947, when he has a tumor on his neck and he's giving this speech and he says, gotta go, basically, because he's dying. A young lady named Ruth Steinhagen was in the crowd, and she's 17, and she's very, very beautiful. Sitting in the crowd is listening to the Babe's speech. They're playing it over the speakers. And so while it's playing, she's just sort of darting her eyes around, and then she notices this guy at first base, and she's like, zoing!
Yeah. I looked him up. He's handsome.
He is. And just very confident. He knew how to talk to people.
Yeah.
He was like a peacemaker, if people had arguments. He did great with the ladies. Yeah, I get it. There was this whole thing in baseball that teen girls, Bobby Soxers, got into baseball. There's cards, all the guys are listening to the games and they're talking about the games. So the girls start paying attention. Then you got some young athletes that are really cute.
Yeah.
And girls are like, ooh, who dat? And so they would call them baseball sadies. Sadies. My cat's name is Sadie.
Sadies.
There's baseball Annies and baseball Sadies.
Ooh.
And these Sadies are teen girls. They meet in clubs. They have their favorite players. They go to this is back when the games were affordable, by the way. People could just go to a game. It wasn't like it is now. And they'd find their favorite players. And the players were very accessible. They would come right out from the subway, and walk through the parking lot to get there. You could see them coming in. You could see them going out. They were very friendly with fans. They were encouraged to be. And a lot of these guys were not, you would be surprised how little they were paid considering how much the owners made. And they were not paid during the off season. So sometimes, it's just making connections with people.
Yeah.
It takes you to the next level.
What's a baseball Annie? Is that
I think that's the more risque version.
Interesting because in Bull Durham, the lead character is named Annie, and
I think that's what it
baseball.
is. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. I did not know this.
Yeah, baseball sadies. The Sporting News actually wrote columns about this and said, watch out for these baseball sadies because they're bolder and more sex conscious than normal women.
Woo!
And female fans of the game were very indignant. Sure, we're here to look at hot guys, but also we like the game. This is not...
This is the thing, y'all. So the Giants went on here in San Francisco where I live. the San Francisco Giants went on they were on a streak. Like they won like 3 World Series in like 6 years or something. And everybody here got caught up in it, including me. There were all kinds of women at these games. And then like you wear the shirt or the jersey, you know, and then someone's like, "Can you name 3 players?" And it's like, fuck off. Like, I don't have to audition for you.
Right.
To like baseball. But it was interesting that it became kind of a phenomenon that all of a sudden women were going to baseball games. And it's still like they are an untapped market of baseball, and they like try a little bit to like appeal to the women, like kind of what they're doing with football now. Mm-hmm. They would get a female crowd for a while, and then they would kind of lose them again, however, and then they get back into it, and then they lose them again. And I think women are back into it currently.
Sociologically speaking, I'm going to put my nerd hat on, but
yeah, I love it.
When more women are involved in a situation, it's less violent. The more dudes, density of dudes, the more chance there is for violence versus having more evenly spread out with the genders.
Yeah.
But also,
and baseball's a totally different vibe than other sports.
Football and hockey.
It's
right.
Yeah, it's slower.
Very slow.
It is. You know, that's what I like about it. I don't have to, the rules are easier to understand. Not that the other ones are like super hard. It's just not my jam. It's basically a game of math. It's statistics and math. And we're going to get into that in our next Dorking Out movie. But I think it's one of the reasons that women are drawn to baseball is the atmosphere.
It's being outdoor. It's outdoors, right? A lot of games are during the day. It's a great way to spend the afternoon. I mean, there are just the traditions that it has and the music that they play. And you know, like football's fun, but it also is very tense. You know, hockey, the same, like fun, but really like it changes on a dime. Basketball, right. Baseball's more like, okay.
I don't relax. I wouldn't relax at a basketball or a football game. I actually find baseball very relaxing.
That's a way of putting it.
Yeah.
So Ruth Ann Steinhagen, she was very tall. She's like 5'10", brunette, very attractive. She had a lack of social skills. She didn't have a lot of friends. She didn't have a lot of interests. Guys asked her out all the time, and she would go out. You know, she liked to dance and stuff like that. She liked music, but she didn't know how to have conversations. She was just very intense. And as soon as Eddie got in her sights, like, she became a super fan. And there, like I said, there were clubs that, you know, teens would meet and, you know, and then they'd go together and then they root for the guy that they're a fan of. And she just went like next level. She always went by herself and she watched from a distance. And there was a shooting once at a Chicago Cubs player named Billy Jurgis. His girlfriend shot him. This was in 1932. But for the most part, like I said, fans, it used to be fine. Like you could just be right near them. My dad talks about this when he was a kid in Brooklyn. But she was totally obsessed with him. She learned to speak Lithuanian because he could speak Lithuanian.
Did he know who she was? She's clearly obsessed with him.
She gets closer and closer to him.
Okay.
But she never really has contact with him.
Okay.
She just can't. Like as soon as she gets to Flibberty, the first time she saw him up close, like coming out of the dugout or whatever you call that thing. I'm just kidding. I know it's a dugout, but she fainted. Like he really she had it bad for this guy.
Okay.
She started telling her family that she was setting a place for him at the dinner table because he was going to show up. He wasn't going to show up.
I do that for Pedro Pascal. He never shows up.
Maybe you have to manifest it. Maybe that's what we do. Okay. His jersey number was 36. So she bought every record from the year 1936 that she could find. She had pictures of him all over her room, on her bed, on the floor. She had news articles. She knew everything he did. She knew that because he was from Massachusetts, she ate baked beans every day because she thought that's what people from Massachusetts do. She had a job as a typist, and one day she thought that her boss looked too much like Waitkus, so she just like walked out of the office and quit. She had like 1 or 2 jobs in her life. She was just not
That boss has got some nerve looking like her obsession.
Her parents were like getting really tired of this. Like she would just spend hours in her room just staring at photos. They tried to take her to a psychiatrist.
Creepy.
It didn't take.
Yeah.
Then in Christmas time, 1948, Eddie gets traded. And it's like the Cubs did a lot of really stupid things for a very long time before they finally won a World Series again, right? Because it was all those years that Bill Murray would show up, to that game. Anyway, they traded him for like 2 pitchers or something like that to Philadelphia. Ruth Ann didn't handle it well. She cried for 2 days. Her parents basically said, you need to go to a psychiatrist. If you don't go to a psychiatrist, you need to move out because you're driving us nuts.
That'll fix it.
That'll fix it. So she gets an apartment. And I don't know if she's working or not, or if they pay for the rent, but it's this little attic apartment on the top of a building. And she's real tall. She has to hunch over, and she just has pictures of Eddie everywhere.
Oh my
and
gosh.
And she's spiraling.
Girl,
she is
not worth it.
It's not worth it. Eddie, meanwhile, goes to Philadelphia and does great, because he's an awesome player. And he makes friends. He likes the city of Philadelphia. He's having a great time. And what do you know? They're doing a whole series in Chicago, so he's playing against his old teammates. So that he goes up to, this is in June at this point. And somewhere around May, she decided she was going to kill him. That was her solving the obsession. It's terrifying.
I can't even wrap my head around it. I always try to, have some empathy or put myself in someone's shoes. This stuff I can't. I'm like, it makes no sense to me.
You can't make sense out of it. You got to kind of remove the person from the situation before they harm themselves or somebody.
Yeah.
It's just
girl, just move to Philadelphia and start eating cheesesteaks every day. It's just it's fine. And then don't hurt anybody. If you want to stare at pictures and eat cheesesteaks, do that.
She just couldn't. That's that's who she was.
If I can't have him, nobody can.
Exactly, and that's what she's basically saying. And she thinks that's going to cure her. And she's just disassociated at this point. She's completely so she can't. She realizes that you can't get a gun unless you have a license for it or some. I think so. She goes to a pawn shop and she buys a rifle. And then June 14th comes around. Eddie plays. It's a doubleheader, and Eddie does really well. His first time at bat, he hits a ball thing and I'm just kidding. But at the first time at bat, he does really well. And she's sitting in the crowd in a white babushka, which is just white fabric, dress.
Okay.
He hits the ball. He goes to first base and she just stands up very dramatically and then leaves the game. And she goes back to the hotel. And so she got a hotel room in Chicago where the guys were staying. And she's hanging out and she gives $5 to the porter, the bellboy.
Okay. Yeah.
And said, I got a note for Eddie Waitkus. Can you give this to him? And basically this is the note she said. They're at the Edgewater Beach Hotel. Mr. Waitkus, it's extremely important that I see you as soon as possible. We're not acquainted, but I have something of importance to speak to you about, and I think it will be to your advantage for me to explain it to you. She also tells him that she grew up on the same street as him, as in Cambridge. And then she says, please come to my room. I won't take up too much of your time, I promise. So he's thinking she knows somebody who knows someone. You know what I mean? Like a family or a friend or something.
Yeah.
So he gets back to his hotel. It's like 11 o'clock at night. So he calls her room and says, what's up? What are you talking about? And she says, oh, can you please come to my room? Can't we do this over the phone? No, you really need to come to my room. Can you wait 30 minutes and then come over? And he's like, okay. So he comes over and he just kind of walks into her room.
Why would he be afraid? I mean, the truth is, if the roles were reversed, a woman would be like, no, thank you. I'll meet you downstairs at the bar or whatever.
Right.
But a man isn't going to think that. A man is like, what's she going to do?
Right.
Shoot me? But he didn't know.
He didn't know. So he walks in and she says, I've got a surprise for you. And she goes to the closet and she gets the shotgun. She's like, for 2 years, you've been bothering me. And then she shoots him. He slumps over and all he could think to say is, baby, why'd you do that? And then she's sitting there and she expected a ruckus. Like she expected all of a sudden,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, but it's like in the middle of the night. And I
Yeah.
guess it didn't make that much noise. So then she's running around the hotel on her floor, knocking on doors, saying, I shot Eddie Waitkus. I shot Eddie Waitkus. And the people are like, I don't know. And she was mad because they didn't know who he was. So then she goes to the room and she calls the front desk and says, I think you need to bring the cops in an ambulance. I shot Eddie Waitkus. And the cops...
Nice of her to tell on herself, I guess.
But that's the only way. That's how he lived.
Yeah.
Because he would have died otherwise. And
Right.
it hit his chest. It pierced his lung. It lodged into his spine. So the cops take him to the hospital. All right. So this is around 3 or 4 in the morning. All of a sudden, he's just laying there in this hospital. There's reporters outside, flash bulbs. The cops brought her to the hospital through a back door to bring him to his bed so that he could identify her. This woman just shot this man a few hours before.
That is really, really scary.
It's terrifying. I'm like, he must
Yeah.
have been like shitting the bed. Like, oh my God.
Yes.
And he just said like, why did you do it? And she just looked at him and she goes, I'm not sure. And the cops take her out.
I can't even imagine what, like, somebody is inflicted. It's like, we've talked about this before. Like, these injuries are no fucking joke.
No,
Like,
they're painful, but also like when you
Yes.
see a lineup, they have
You're
the
changing
lights.
his life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they have the lights falling into, so they can't, at the suspects, they don't have it towards the person who's pointing at them, right? So that they
Right.
can't see who's pointing them out. That's the whole point,
Yeah.
to keep it safe. They're bringing this woman who confessed to shooting him to his side when he's got a bullet still lodged in him. And it's like
Yeah.
in the middle of the night. He doesn't have his lawyer there. There's not anybody like looking out for him.
I would be so scared. I would be so scared.
So he gives an interview from the hotel bed. And I'm reading an article from June 18th, 1949, Chicago Tribune, Dateline, Saturday, June 18th. And he said, I went up to my room and called her because I thought it might be someone I knew. She said it was very important. When I turned around, there she was with this rifle. She says, you're not going to bother me anymore. Before I could say anything else, whammy. The baseball player said that he has a vague recollection of asking why she shot him. She had the coldest looking face I ever saw. No expression at all. From what I've heard about other people who shoot other people, they're supposed to get a big kick out of it. And he doesn't recall ever getting a letter from her before, although I couldn't be sure. But we're ball players. We get a lot of letters from girls. Propped up in his bed, looking haggard but cheerful, Waitkus told reporters, I still haven't gotten over the whole surprise. It's just like a bad dream.
Yeah. Surprise.
She must be crazy charging around with a rifle. It was safer in New Guinea, wasn't it? Like when he was in World War II, he said, I never got a cold. I come back 2 years later, 3 years later, and this woman can just...
America.
But that's like just an example of just like how he copes is like he's pretty
Yeah.
like, well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So he's sent home, he sent to Philadelphia, and the doctors have to figure out whether or not they take the bullet out, what's going to happen with him. His season's over. And then when spring training...
Really? He didn't just get
He had grit.
and then like the next day he's up there. Yeah.
And he had to, by the way, when she was put in front of a judge, he was in a wheelchair. She's standing like 3 feet from him. And the judge is
so scary.
It's terrifying. And the judge is saying, obviously this woman is having some kind of psychotic break. They thought it was schizophrenia. So the judge sent her to a mental hospital. First they have to take the bullet out, and he has to like slowly get his lung capacity back and stuff like that. By the time he is ready to go for spring training, and they're like, look, take all the time you need. He says, no, I want to be with my team. So he goes to Florida, and he's training there, Clearwater, Florida. They put him through this physical, recuperating and rehabilitation that is brutal, and it's in the sun and it's the heat and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And one day he's doing these exercises, and he sees a really cute chick. And he's like, hey, I'm Eddie Waitkus. And she's like, oh, hi, I'm Carol. I'm from Albany, New York. I'm traveling with my family. They fall in love. And they start a
and he's
romance.
Like, do you have a weapon on you?
Do you know karate?
Not interested. Yeah.
She told the cops, I was so excited. Talking about Ruth again. She told the cops, I was so excited I could not control myself. I dreamt about killing him. I was holding in my arms saying, don't you see, all my dreams have come true. Like, she's totally giddy, which means she's just not doing great. So she's sent to this mental hospital, and he's sent back to the big leagues, and he does well. He's doing great with the Phillies. His lifetime batting average is 285, 24 home runs, 373 runs batted in.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Not bad. For a guy who like been through World War II and being shot on top of that. And he does this for a few more years, but he's starting to have problems sleeping at night.
I wonder why.
And he's starting to get worried. Less than 3 years after the incident happens, she is released from the mental hospital. They had done shock treatments on her and said that she was cured, basically. And they let her just go back to living in Chicago. And she moved in with her family.
Go wrong?
But apparently, she lived a very quiet life. She didn't work. She didn't leave the house very much. Her parents had bought their home. She and her sister stayed there. You know, a couple of spinsters living in the family home. She lived to be 83. She lived she lived a very long life.
Yeah.
Eddie, on the other hand, was having problems sleeping. He was having problems dealing with the off season. He was having problems. He didn't have as much flexibility as he used to. His back was starting to really bother him where the bullet was. He's having issues. And at that time, people didn't go to a psychiatrist, especially men, you know.
Yeah. Also, sports in general, it takes a toll on your body. You don't have a long shelf life in that career.
Right.
You know, and it takes its toll. People are like, I don't know. I think people think baseball isn't as physically taxing as, say, football or something. And it's taxing. It's just different. It's a different kind of.
Well, especially your
stress.
Joints, your shoulder and your knees and your back. It's you know, depending on what position you're in.
Yeah, he wasn't a pitcher, but if you watch like the slow motion footage of people who throw fastballs, it looks unnatural. It's bananas.
Yeah. So he goes from the Phillies, and he's in the Orioles, and then he's kind of out of the biz. And he literally he hadn't gone to college, and he had no idea what to do with his life. He's really smart, but he has kind of limited skill set. They put him in sales. You know, everybody loved him, so they were trying to give him a job, but he just couldn't get the hang of it. And he was going from job to job, and then they would have to move. He and his wife had a couple of kids, and he starts drinking, and he smokes cigarettes nonstop. And he's just being more and more alone and more moody and more just like not integrated with the family. Yeah. And unfortunately, he and the wife split up.
No.
And
that's not in the movie.
It's not in the movie. And it's a bummer because when you see pictures of them, they're like, oh, they're so cute. They have like their whole lives ahead of them. And, you know, but he didn't have those kind of skills. So Eddie, he worked at Ted Williams, had a baseball camp, and that was like his favorite job. Like he would do that every summer. But he got sick very easily. He would smoke 2 or 3 packs of cigarettes a day.
Damn. And he had a lung injury.
And he had a lung injury. And all the drinking that he did on top of that. And unfortunately, he passed away at the age of 53 to cancer.
Oh, that's young. Well, fuck cancer. But
esophageal.
53 is young. Damn.
Yeah.
That sucks.
So that's our story today. That's our the real story behind The Natural.
Good job, my friend.
Thank you.
I didn't know any of this stuff, so I've seen the movie, and now I know more.
Yeah.
Did he hit a home run where he hits the lights and all the sparks fly? Damn it, Hollywood! No, I knew that wasn't real.
He was a great ball player, and he was, and they love. I mean, like I said, people loved him. He was easy with people. He talked. He was good with reporters. He was good with fans. He just didn't have any of those skills for like a job, you know.
Yeah.
And he just and he had all this PTSD from what he experienced in World War II on top of being shot at, in a hotel room there. So he dealt with a lot of shit.
Yeah, it's going to kind of fuck with your head.
It will.
That sucks. Good job, my friend.
Thanks, my friend.
Do you want to hear about someone who's not a creep?
Yes, please.
Okay. Do you know who Hunter Pence is?
No.
Hunter Pence was a right fielder and a designated hitter. He played for the Astros, played for the Phillies, played for the Rangers, and of course, he played for my beloved Giants. So he was playing for the Giants from 2012 to 2018, and then he came back in 2020 to finish his career so he could retire as a Giant. People around here know they gave him the nickname the Reverend because he was Mr. Pep Talk before, during the playoff. They won the World Series 2 times while he was there. And he was the one who would give these pep talks in the dugout or in the locker room that would get people all motivated and excited, and they'd jump up and down and start losing their shit. He was that guy. He is someone who appears to be really good at everything, which is obnoxious. But he also seems like someone who's you never read a bad thing about him. He's delightful. And when he retired from baseball, he started a nonprofit. Here we go, called Healthy Planet. And it's an organization that he started with his wife. More on her in a little bit. And they do work in the community together. It's about cleaning up the neighborhoods, practice sustainable living, talking about climate change, reducing the carbon footprint. It's all these really good things. He uses he's very famous here in San Francisco. Everybody loves Hunter Pence. And he uses that to his advantage here. He hosts a lot of different events, all these cleanup events, and then you get lunch afterwards, and he's going to be there too. And he's done stuff where they're planting trees and cleaning up parks. And then there was another one where he goes to all of these, him and his wife, and they're cleaning up the beach, and then they get a surf lesson, and they get in kayaks and they clean up the water from the kayaks, and they get to hang out with Hunter Pence and go to lunch and all this stuff. It's so delightful.
You should do it.
Wife, I should do it. I love Hunter Pence. He used to play for the Phillies, and I hated Hunter Pence because he was really good. And every time the Giants played him, fuck Hunter Pence, because he always got home runs. He was so good, and I was I hate him. And then he came to the Giants, and I was now he's my favorite player. So good. But his wife is named Alexa, and Alexis, and they met when she worked for the gaming website IGN, and he was really they're both really into video games, and he was at the office promoting nerds. He was in the office as part of a promotion for the baseball game The Show, which is insanely popular. And she was there, and he met her, and he really liked her. And she gave him a business card, and then he called her he's can you have dinner with me tonight? And she's no. And she didn't know who he was really. And he's well, it's just, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks on the road, and I really want to go to dinner with you. And she's yeah, all right. So she went to dinner with him, and she's and it seemed like a good date and everything was fine. And then he came back, and he's texted her, and he's do you want to get coffee? And she sent him a picture of her coffee that's already on her desk. I already got coffee. Thanks though. And and then she told
playing
her
it cool.
Yeah. Well, she's I really wanted to get coffee with him, but I already have a coffee. So what are you going to do?
Literal.
And her, and her coworker's you throw the coffee in the trash.
You dumb. Yes.
And you go get a coffee with him. But like this is all happening like she also has like a YouTube channel called Let's Get Lexi, and like she plays video games, and like he's really into that too. So you could see like their relationship kind of playing out on YouTube. And I remember talking with friends and just being like, they're in love. Like I was like, they're gonna get married. Like they got married. He proposed in like Disney World, and they're married.
They're
and all
Disney
this stuff.
people too.
They're Disney people.
Holy shit! I have nothing in common with these people.
I know. Like they just seem delightful. Just so delightful. They're always doing like good causes here around San Francisco, not just their cleanup stuff, but like, raising money for like good organizations. He's always out supporting all the local teams, wearing their jerseys and like going to their games and all that stuff. Recently he was in San Francisco's Bayview neighborhood, like planting trees and cleaning up. Him and his wife also. So Hunter Pence is also like really into coffee, like really, really into coffee.
I like coffee.
Yeah. So he drinks like a pot of coffee every day, and he's like a double espresso man and all this stuff. So him and his wife started a coffee company called Pineapple Labs, and it's all like, ethically sourced coffee with like, mugs and notepads and things like that you can buy. But 100% of the profits go to nonprofit organizations. And they do like all kinds of different like pop-up events around the city. So they'll like set up outside Giants ballpark and pour coffee for a couple of hours, and then they take all that money and donate it to local charities.
So cool.
Yeah, there's a nonprofit called Pitch In, and it's about providing like baseball and softball equipment to kids whose families can't afford it, so that because like there's a lot of kids that want to play baseball or softball
or musical instruments, and they can't freaking afford it.
They can't afford it because there's like buying bats and gloves, and like they might provide you helmets or whatever, but like they can't afford that stuff. So like this is one of those things that they raise money for that. Like he just seems like an awesome, decent.
They sound
person.
like amazing people.
Yeah,
people.
and they live here in San Francisco. He grew up in Texas, like I know his family's still in Texas, but he's like all in on the Bay Area. And I love that. And that's why he's kind of my favorite. And if I bought a jersey, it would probably be a Hunter Pence jersey.
What's his number?
Number 8.
Oh, that's a good number. Steve Young's number. He was my favorite. But that's football, not baseball.
So that's our non-creep is Hunter Pence.
I love that. That's awesome. I was worried a second there because you were saying everything in the past tense. I was like, oh no, what happened?
Oh no, I just meant that he doesn't play with the Giants anymore. But he shows up at Giants events like all the time, and he seems delightful. He's also a very hyper person. Also, he lives in this Millennium Tower here in San Francisco that everyone's obsessed with because it's starting to lean.
Oh yeah.
And but to get to the ballpark, he would ride a scooter. He just had like a little like scooter that he would like ride from the tower to the
That's adorable.
ballpark. And then he donated the scooter to like the San Francisco like Make-A-Wish organization for someone.
Some sick kid on a scooter.
And then somebody broke in and stole it.
What?
Yeah, and it turned into this whole thing where it was like the whole city was like, "Find that scooter!" And they eventually did, and like caught the people who did it. And it was kind of a repeat of another thing when like he had another scooter before that, and somebody stole it. And then like all of San Francisco was like, "Find his scooter and steal Hunter Pence's scooter!" Like everyone was losing their minds. It was hilarious.
Do you remember when Joe DiMaggio lived in San Francisco? This is a long time ago.
Yeah.
When the big earthquake happened and he was leaving his house and he had all these garbage bags and duffel bags. And he just was like heading off, like looking really nervous and squirrely. Turns out they were full of money. Like he didn't trust banks very much. Like he was always worried about, it was notoriously cheap. He was so like, there's footage you could see of Joe DiMaggio kind of like,
So funny.
yeah, like, oh, it's an earthquake. I better, like, me and my money better go someplace.
It's like it's in a sack with a giant dollar bill.
I mean,
on it,
seriously,
dollar bill
yes.
sign. They're like, come on, you, like carrying that sack of money over your
I
shoulder.
mean, there's so many crazies in San Francisco. I mean, there's so much like but it was, yeah, like they have their local celebrities, and then like everyone is like completely obsessed with them.
Yes.
Joe
He's also
Montana.
Yes. He's also a notoriously good tipper when he goes out to restaurants.
That's
There's
the thing
another
I care
giant, Timmy Lincecum, a pitcher for the Giants. He still lives around here, and he is also a notoriously good tipper.
If you ever worked a service job in your life, that's a big deal to me. We forgot to talk about in a bonus up about Ellen DeGeneres. And
we skipped over her.
Yeah, she had that whole self-pitying article, you know, I'm hated now and blah, blah. It's like, did you actually hear the comments? Like, just how awful you treat people who are in the service industries.
Yeah.
It's just like, because that's to me the lowest. Like,
Yeah.
You're just a rotten human.
Get some perspective.
Get some empathy
all.
and perspective.
Yeah. You too, Jerry Seinfeld.
All of you. Oh, we had things to say on that Patreon bonus app.
Yeah, we did.
All right, that's the episode this week. And if you like the sound of our voices, and by golly, why wouldn't you? We also co-host a podcast called Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies. Our current movie that we're dorking out is...
Oh.
We're looking at each other.
Sorry. Why don't I remember what it was? I feel terrible now.
I know. The Talented Mr. Ripley.
The Talented Mr. Ripley.
It was funny. Sticking with a baseball theme, we're going to be talking about Moneyball next.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to read the book. I've done that already. Please spare yourselves.
You're fine.
It's dry. It's but the film is fantastic. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I love watching it as a Oakland A's fan.
Yep.
The team that is soon to be leaving here. It's going to be a fun rewatch, though. It's very, very entertaining from what I remember.
Well, if you have ideas for creeps, and especially non-creeps, that's where we usually suffer sometimes coming up with inspiration. Reach out to us at all those places I mentioned at the top of the show via social media. And we love it when you use the Annie Potts gift. We got one from Ghostbusters, or just think of something clever, or just leave it on the Facebook page like a lot of people do in our Facebook group.
Yeah.
Or email it. Once again, our email is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on all your social media channel preferences, whatever those might be. But if you care about Facebook, just go to our private Facebook group because I don't really linger outside of that group. Where can people find you, Margot?
My site is Brooklyn Fit Chick, and that's what I am for Instagram and also Threads. And then I'm at Brooklyn Margot for TikTok. And I sent you a funny TikTok thing, by the way, today.
Oh, I know. I need
It was
to watch
a drag
after
show
this.
doing Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, the finale. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm Brooklyn Margot on Twitter as well. Okay, everyone, we're going to have a brand new creep next week for season 25. Woo! Woo! Thank you so much for listening. And remember, be kind, be safe. Don't be a creep.
Be a creep. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.